record on the computer. Okay, so today we're going to be in Genesis 4 through 7. We're in day 93. Genesis 4
Woo!
through 7. Oh, let's see here.
We're in, let's see, 4. Now, Trisha, you said you couldn't read. Trisha don't have her glasses. She's in West Texas.
Well, I don't have my Bible, y'all, and I got a different
If I didn't
Bible.
want to read, I hope they would say I don't want to read.
She forgot her little
I just don't want to
Bible.
be a boss home and read all of it. Plus, when y'all read, I get to highlight stuff.
I mean, I can read. I mean, my Bible, I don't think it's nowhere near y'all's though. This is a different Bible.
No, it's just a different version. Bibles are the same, Trisha.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, different version. Yes, you're right.
4, 5, 6. And 7. Is there anybody that likes to take 4? I'll take 4.
I'll take 4, I said.
Okay, you got it, and go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Genesis chapter 4, Cain and Abel. Now Adam had sexual relations with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant. When she gave birth to Cain, she said, "With the Lord's help, I have produced a man." Later, she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. When they grew up, Abel became a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. When it came time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also bought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. "Why are you so angry?" the Lord asked Cain. "Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master." One day, Cain suggested to his brother, "Let's go out to the fields." And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Afterward, the Lord asked Cain, "Where is your brother? Where is Abel?" "I don't know," Cain responded. "Am I my brother's guardian?" But the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed and banished from the ground, which has swallowed your brother's blood. No longer will the ground yield good crops for you, no matter how hard you work. From now on, you will be a homeless wanderer on the earth." Cain replied to the Lord, "My punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land, and from your presence, you have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me." The Lord replied, "No, for I will give a 7-fold punishment to anyone who kills you." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to kill him. So Cain left the Lord's presence, and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Hold 1 second. All right. East of Eden. The descendants of Cain, verse 17. Cain had sexual relations with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Then Cain founded a city, which he named Enoch after his son. Enoch had a son named Irad. Irad became the father of Miguel. Miguel became the father of Meshipel. Meshipel became the father of Lamech. Lamech married 2 women. The first was named Ada. The second was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, who was the first of those who raise livestock and live in tents. His brother's name was Jabal, the first of all who played the harp and flute. Lamech's other wife, Zillah, gave birth to a son named Tubal-Cain. He became an expert at forging tools of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain had a sister named Naamah. One day, Lamech said to his wives, "Ada and Zillah hear my voice. Listen to me. you wives of Lamech. I have killed a man who attacked me, a young man who wounded me. If someone who kills Cain is punished 7 times, then the one who kills me will be punished 77 times. The birth of Seth, verse 25. Adam had sexual relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to another son. She named him Seth, for she said, God has granted me another son in place of Abel, whom Cain killed. When Seth grew up, he had his son and named him Enosh. At the time, people first began to worship the Lord by name. Chapter 4.
Okay, so I'm just trying to read here. The first thing we catch up here is of course they produce a child, and I had read something a while back. How did Earth get populated? And all it only talks about 3 children that Cain or Adam and Eve had, and it's 3 boys. But later on, we're going to read that there was multiple children. You got to remember, Adam lived 730 years. So there was multiple children over time. And it's just thought that back in those days, brothers and sisters ended up marrying, and then brothers and cousins and all that ended up marrying back in those times. So that's how the earth became populated. But the big question is, and it doesn't ever really say, why did God not like Cain's sacrifice?
Yeah.
Because, and what I was reading here in the thing is possibly it was Cain's attitude, because it doesn't say, and our attitude, are we giving for the right reason? If we're giving to think that that's checking a checkbox, then we're not doing it for the right reason. It has to come from our heart. And Abel's heart was good and pure. And I was trying to read about the mark. Any of y'all know anything about the mark?
I don't.
Let me see what it says.
Excuse me. See, that was in one day Cain suggested his brother go. I don't know, Cain responded, am I my brother's guardian? But the Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are caused to banish from the ground, which has swallowed brother's blood. No longer will the ground yield good crops for you. No matter how hard you work, from now on you will be homeless, wander on the earth. Cain cried to the Lord, my punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me. The Lord replied, no, not, for I have given a 7-fold punishment to anyone who kills you. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn him. So that was in 15, so 4:15. The suppression, I gotta get my magnifying. The suppression of 7-fold punishment means that the punishment would be complete through much of worse than the recently by Cain's sin. So mine doesn't say anything about the mark.
Mine doesn't either.
I've heard stories and stuff, but obviously God wasn't happy. But I think that once again it shows what a not forgiving God we have, but God says anybody that kills you is 77 times the sin, correct? Because God didn't want people to kill him. So Genesis 5. I'm going to try. My eyes, I'll tell you, my eyes keep getting worse and worse. Adam's descendants. Beginning with Adam and Eve, humanity grew to become independent families and tribes. From Adam to Noah, Genesis is a written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female and blessed them and called them human. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son who was just like him in very image. He named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years. So it was 930 years. And he had other sons and daughters. Right there it says it. He had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh. After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived another 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years and then he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived another 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Enosh lived 905 years and then he died. Can you imagine living that long?
No,
905 years.
they must have been in good shape.
Well, I think it was part of God's plan to multiply the earth. When Kenan was 70 years old, became the father of Mahalalel. After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived another 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Kenan lived 910 years and then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. And after the birth of Israel, Mahalalel lived another 830 years and he had other sons and daughters. Mahalalel lived 895 years. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived another 800 years and he had the sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years and then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day he disappeared because God took him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived another 782 years and he had other sons and daughters. Methuselah lived 969 years and then he died. So 969 years, wow. When Lamech was 182 years old, he became the father of a son. Lamech named his son Noah, for he said, "May he bring us relief from our work and painful labor of farming this ground that is the Lord has cursed." After the birth of Noah, Lamech lived another 595 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Lamech lived 777 years, then he died. By the time Noah was 500 years old, he was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 5. So in chapter 6, we go to the new beginning of humanity. Earth was no longer the perfect paradise that God had intended. It is frightening to see how quickly all humanity forgot about God. Incredibly, in all the world, only one man and his family still worshiped God. The man was Noah. Because of his faithfulness and obedience, God saved him and his family from a vast flood that destroyed earth, only human being on earth. This section shows us how God hates sin and judges those who enjoy it. So, obviously, we go for here basically a little thousand years, or you really don't know how long it was, but it tells you. I mean, it's a couple thousand years because from the start of Adam and Eve, and he lived 930 years, and then you got this other guy here that came after that, and he lived 969 years. So it had been a couple thousand years, and everybody had turned away from God, their creator. So God wasn't very happy. And it says here there was only one man, one family on earth that was faithful, which was Noah. And so now we have Genesis 6. Anybody like to read it before I take off?
I'll try, them words. Whoever wants to.
Go ahead, Aunt Debbie.
I'll try. Okay. Flood. The flood was God's judgment on the world's professes sin, cleansing his creation, and creating a new beginning with Noah and his family. A world gone wrong. Genesis 6. Then the people began to multiply on the earth, and the daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any they wanted as their wives. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal flesh. In the future, their normal lifespan will be no more than 120 years. In those days, and for some time after, giant Nephites lived on the earth, for whenever the sons of God had intercourse with women, they gave birth to children who became the heroes and famous warriors of ancient times. The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry he had ever made them and put them on earth. It broke his heart. And the Lord said, I will wipe this human race I will create from the face of this earth. I have created from the face of this earth. Yes, and I will destroy every living thing, all the people, the large animals, the small animals, the scurry along the ground, even the birds of the sky. I am sorry I ever made them. But Noah found favor with the Lord. The story of Noah. This is an account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, the only blameless person living on the earth at the time, and he walked in close relationship with God. Noah was the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now God said that the earth had become corrupt, and was filled with violence. God observed all this corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. So God said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. Build a large boat from cypress wood and waterproof it with tar inside and out. Then construct decks and stalls throughout its interior. Make the boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Leave an 18-inch opening below the roof all the way around the boat. Put the door on the side and build 3 decks inside the boat, lower, middle, and upper. Look, I'm about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die, but I will confirm my covenant with you. So enter the boat, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every kind of animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you to keep them alive during the flood. Pairs of every kind of bird and every kind of animals and every kind of small animals that scurry along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. And be sure to take on board enough food for your family and for all the animals. So Noah did everything exactly as God had commanded him. Was that all of it? That's chapter 6?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Randy. Freddie's on mute.
So did all the animals, so God had all the animals come to Noah,
Yes.
is what it says?
Yes, ma'am.
One male and one
Wow.
female of everything went to Noah.
Goodness. Wow.
I was trying to imagine the size of that. They
Well,
say is it Arkansas where they got a replica
no, it's in Kentucky.
in
It's
Kentucky?
in Kentucky. I've been there. The dimensions are exactly how it's stated here: 450 foot long, 75 wide, 3 decks. It's unbelievable.
Is it big?
If you get a chance, you need to go to Kentucky to see that. Number one, it's amazing how back then the engineering that took place to get that. Number one, to make it, you're making it. You got 3 decks plus a top deck, so you're looking at 4. It's like a cruise ship almost. I mean, it's huge. And then the construction on the engineering on how they number one, they got rid of all the waste daily, how they engineered that, how they fed and watered, how they kept water. They had a filter to water up from the salt water, and to make it drinkable. it's amazing that the knowledge and that went on to, number one, construct that boat at that time, but number two, to engineer everything to allow them to live in that boat for so long. All the animals, all the cages they built for each individual animal, how they separated them.
It shows all that inside that.
It shows all that, and at the very end of each deck, has a big movie screen. They show what went on that deck, how they made everything. It's unbelievable. It's awesome. We went several years ago. We went a year after it opened. So we'll probably go again this summer when we go visit.
Well, it's 450 feet. Well, a football field's 300 feet. So that tells you the length.
So it's a football field and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty.
No.
That's pretty long. Now the 75 feet. I was trying to think of something that I know of.
Well, football field's 50 feet wide.
A football field's 50 feet wide.
50 feet. And no, excuse me. Football field is 50 yards wide. Excuse me.
So that's 3.
That's a big boat. That's big.
It is a big boat. That's for darn sure.
I don't understand. Did the people have a chance to get on the boat? Because he told Noah just his wife, his children, and their wives.
Well,
The other people didn't have a chance. Like, we've got a chance now to repent.
They weren't righteous.
Oh, they wouldn't listen to the Lord.
That's right. They lived in sin and.
But did somebody teach them? I don't understand why God just took them all out. Who was there to teach these people like we're learning through the book? Did they have a book?
Well, God had laid out the commandments not to eat from the tree, and once they opened up sin, it's like, of course, they went thousands of years. So apparently, Adam and Eve didn't get it down to whoever and get it down to whoever. They didn't pass it down. Is I'm guessing, Randy.
What's that?
What's your take on it?
On the boat itself? Or
No. Why were the people? Why was God not happy with the people?
Yeah.
Oh, because of all the sin and everything. I mean, they were fornicating and the men were just sleeping with anybody and everybody. There was no. I guess they had other gods at the time too. They were starting to and instead of God himself, like you said earlier, they had gotten away from God, their creator, over the years. He was, I guess, they've forgotten about, and they worshiping other gods and committing sin left and right. I mean, basically I look at it, you look at New Orleans, how it is, right? All the time, Bourbon Street, a bunch of drunkenness, partying, and just, fornicating and everything like that all the time. And that's the way it was back then. And he was tired of it, he said, I'm tired of it. I'm going to clean it up. And apparently Noah was the only righteous man, him and his family. I believe it wasn't but 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically he was going to start all over, but start all over with the, your foundation, your base has to be, pure and, strong.
But David, I think that's a great question. Why wasn't anybody passing down the rules? I don't think that there was, because we're going to come up on Moses here, and Moses is going to bring out the commandments and the first covenant, because God didn't. At no point did we read that He gave them a covenant. But when Moses comes,
did I say where they were learning about God and to repent? I didn't see no words for them people had to, like right now, it's the same thing's happening here now, but we got a chance. They're telling us.
But why do we have a chance at, Debbie? Tell me why.
Why we got a chance?
Why do we have a second chance?
Because Jesus Christ died on the cross for us.
Right. See, you got to realize this is thousands of years before Jesus Christ walked the earth. Okay, so they didn't. That's why Jesus Christ gave us a second chance. They didn't have the second chance. God wanted them to. I always hate to say worship Him, because I feel like that's just such a. I wonder
Yeah.
But he wanted them to worship him. He wanted them to live a righteous life. But they
Yeah.
didn't. They lived in sin. So he got mad. He's like, okay, well, here, I'm going to show them. But there was one man and his family that was faithful and righteous. So he starts it all over again. And he has that power to do that.
Yep,
You know,
he does.
but we're going to get the rules here down the road.
In my commentary here,
When it starts.
in my commentary, it says God did not regret creating humanity. He was sorry that people chose sin and death instead of a relationship with him.
That's right.
And saying that Noah was righteous and blameless, it does not mean that he never sinned. Rather, it means that Noah wholeheartedly loved and obeyed God. For a lifetime, he walked step by step in faith and living an example to his generation. So that's the reason he saved Noah and his family.
Yeah, because they had to sin, but he
Chapter
still,
7.
even though he sinned, he walked with God.
That's right. Chapter 7, the flood covers the earth. Anybody want it?
I'll try, Freddie. This version I have is pretty close to y'all, so I'll
Go
try.
ahead.
Okay. The flood covers the earth. When everything was ready, the Lord said to Noah, go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth, I can see that you're alone are righteous. Does that sound, am I pretty close to
Yeah.
y'all?
Yeah, it's the same thing we're reading.
Okay. Okay. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female of each animal I have approved for eating and for sacrifice, and take 1 pair of each of the others. Also take 7 pairs of every kind of bird. There must be a male and female in each pair to ensure that all life will survive on the earth after the flood. 7 days from now, I will make the rains pour down on the earth, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights until I have wiped from the earth all the living things I have created. So Noah did everything as the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood covered the earth. He went on board the boat to escape the flood. He and his wife and his sons and their wives. With them were all the various kinds of animals, those approved for eating and for sacrifice, and those that were not, along with all the birds and the small animals that scurry along the ground. They entered the boat in pairs, male and females, just as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood came and covered the earth. When Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, all the underground waters erupted from the earth, and the rain fell in mighty torrents from the sky. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. That very day, Noah had gone into the boat with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, large and small, along with birds of every kind. 2 by 2, they came into the boat, representing every living thing that breathes. A male and a female of each kind entered just as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord closed the door behind them. For 40 days, the flood waters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the waters rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, rising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living animals on earth died, birds, domestic animals, wild animals, small animals, and the scurry along the ground. And all the people, everything that breathed and lived on dry land died. God wiped out every living thing on earth, people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground. And the birds who survived were Noah. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. And the birds of the sky all were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those with him in the boat. And the flood waters covered the earth for 150 days.
Wow.
Almost 6 months.
Oh,
So that was 6 months they were in this process.
Had to be a heck of a smell, and there's all I can figure.
oh.
And now Randy said they had a system to relieve all the stuff.
Yeah, they had. I mean, it's you can Google it. Probably I'll show it to you. They got videos of the engineering process, how they'd bring water onto the boat, and how they'd get rid of waste every day. Everybody on the boat had a certain section that they were in charge of, as far as feeding, cleaning of the waste that was not there, that was not, they had to bring it to a certain section to filter it like a dump, and so forth. So everybody had their own jobs every day, and it was neat how they had to, each deck had living quarters for who was on that deck, or able to take care of the animals on that deck.
Wow, that's
What,
amazing.
what were the edible animals? How about the edible animals? I was thinking the same thing Glenn was thinking. What animals could they eat? Because all they could eat was animals. There was no vegetables or anything. So they were living strictly off of animals, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that. What
Do
did
they say
eat?
what?
Goats, chickens.
Chicken?
You know there had to be chicken. Come on.
Yeah. Deer,
You think
deer,
they had
elk,
fried deer,
Cows.
elk? But which one were they allowed to eat?
They had to be approved for eating and for sacrifice. And those were not, and those that were not.
Well,
couldn't
they
have
probably knew back then what was and what wasn't, but, and I read here that somewhere in here, it sounded like he said there were 7 pairs.
No, for 7 pairs for as eating and sacrifice. That had nothing to do with as far as survival afterwards.
So 7 pairs were for eating?
Yeah, the 7, not of every animal, just the 7 pairs of each for sacrifice and eating.
Only the ones that were eatable.
Right.
So they did bring extras.
Correct.
Of course, I guess there wasn't very many people, so they really didn't need a lot to eat because there really wasn't a lot of people.
And they probably did have, for the first few days, they probably had some stored up vegetables, I would guess.
They had a bunch of grain and stuff they had stored up for them to eat and also to feed the animals throughout the years. I believe it does it say how long it took them to build this?
Now, it doesn't say how long, but it says that the waters were there for 150 days. So, I mean, that's 5 months. The earth was covered in water for 5 months.
120 years.
120 years?
It took them 120 years to build an ark.
You'd have thought all
Oh,
these
my
people would have
goodness.
seen this big boat going up, and people say, well, what's that all about? And Moses would have said, hey, this is coming. Of course, there's some movie I saw where it shows all that.
Yeah, it says 45,000 animals. 45,000 animals could have fit into the boat. That's a lot of animals. 45,000 is what it's saying in our thing. 45,000 animals.
Kind of makes you wonder too. It seems like we have way more sin today than they would have had back in those days. Kind of.
Well, here's the problem,
Yeah.
Trish. You got to realize back in those days, there's billions of people on the earth today. Back in those days, there wasn't that many people. So it was expanded because there was so few people. And so it was, now there's so many people but although I heard something very disturbing yesterday as I was driving to go do some work. It was the first time in over a century that there's less than 50% of the people in the United States are members of a church. It was down to 37%. 37% of people are members of a church. That kind of blew me away. First time in over 100. The highest peak it's ever been was in the 1940s. That's when they had the most membership of church. So they were saying, what a church is going to do. And all I could think about was shit. Excuse my language. That's definitely the wrong way to be going. I mean, that's all that Revelation stuff. People turning from the church. And I've been watching. I forget which one of y'all told me about the movies Left Behind. I started watching those yesterday, and then they said that statistic that 37% of the people in the U.S. there's only 37% are members of the church. So that means 63% are a member of a church. So, of course, I had those two trains of thought. One train was, man, how terrible is that? We're headed towards revolution. But the other train of thought was, man, that's a lot of people that are looking for a place to go. They don't know they are, but they're looking.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
That's
it's talking about how
bad.
churches are.
Fred, I do have a praise. I do have a praise. Our buddy Paul that came on here just a couple times. He did ask God to come into his life. Today's Saturday, Thursday. So he asked him to come into his life to take away all the darkness out of his life. So he called me. He was in tears and he was happy. He goes, man, between me talking to him and the verses I send him daily, and just a couple of times he came on here, he said all that worked. I said, well, it's all in God's timing.
That's right.
But he was one of those ones that just, he had anything he wanted. He has money. He has, all this other stuff. But we said it before. He was not happy. I mean, people like that, just because they have those things, they're not happy.
Yeah, you can have everything in the world and not be happy. I'm telling you yesterday, shoot, sometimes I'm happier when I got nothing.
Yep,
You got a lot less worries, that's for darn sure.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
tomorrow is Sunday, and He is Risen Day. So I hope everybody gets a chance to go be a part of their church. And David, you going to church? Or you gonna watch it on TV?
No, I think I'm going. I'm gonna put my mask on and go.
There you go.
Awesome.
Okay. I want you to sing with them. Okay.
Yeah, go in
Get
there
your sing now.
singing.
Did y'all get a chance to listen to Aunt Debbie? I caught a little bit of her singing yesterday. I didn't get my recorder going fast enough. Ronnie, did you get to see Aunt Debbie singing yesterday?
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube.
That's my favorite song she sings. I love that song.
Well, we're going to get off here today. I hope everybody enjoys their family today, and we have a great, beautiful day. I'll close in prayer. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you once again this day. I want to thank you for the last 93 days for giving us the commitment and the fortitude to stay on target, Lord. I ask that you help us to continue to open knowledge and open our hearts, Lord. I want to thank you for these people. I want to thank you for my family. Lord, most of all, I want to thank you for your son, Jesus Christ, who sacrificed it all. And as we go to you this weekend, I pray more hearts will open and see what you have done in this great world. Thank you so much for Noah and for all the people that was on the earth that you supported and gave opportunity, Lord. Thank you for all the animals that you put on that ship. Lord, I love you with all my heart and all my soul. Be with our country. Be with the leadership. Lead and guide us to lead and guide others, Lord. Give us that ability. I love you. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my family. I love you with all my heart and all my soul. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
Hey, I love y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Love y'all.